week as we head into Independence Day, celebrate this incredible nation of ours. Look, it only stays incredible if we fight for it. It only stands incredible if we recognize what makes it incredible and hold on to it. That's got to come from a place of genuine caring, not just lip service. Every election cycle, I'm reminded that it's really easy to talk the talk. How many lawmakers do you hear from only during election time and then poof, into the wind they go? Kay Ivey, great example of this. You watch other governors in conservative states running laps around her. And I mean that, I meant that figuratively, but it could go literally too. We're going to see that change. I am really hoping we're going to see that change. One of the things I love about this term for President Donald Trump is the difference between him and Biden. It's it's kind of remarkable being here in the studio, which we've talked about this before on air. I don't have cable television. So when I'm here surrounded by cable news, it shows you just how often Trump makes himself available. He not only does he show up to give speeches all around the country that are streamed, an open press, but then he takes questions. He does Q&As all the time in the Oval Office, all the time at events. This is making himself accessible, and that's what we need. We had the state senator elect Scott Ortiz in here yesterday. Tomorrow we will have Lloyd Peoples, who is an incoming House representative replacing Jim Carnes. This is what we need. We need to be able to pick these guys out of a crowd. We need to be able to hear their voice. We need to hold them accountable. But in addition to that, we have to ask that they step up. That it's not enough to just do the right thing when elections roll around. It's not enough to just do just enough to get by, to get an endorsement from a business group or a Second Amendment group or a pro-life group. We need them actively out there doing the things that strengthen our rights, that protect our rights, that roll back the bad things. And we do have bad things. You've got a duty to report in the state of Alabama. Now, there's no criminal penalty for it, but why is that there? Why did we have conservatives in Alabama say if you've got a firearm on you and a law enforcement officer asks, you have a duty to report? Now, I'm going to report. I just feel like it's good manners, by the way. Okay. I get pulled over. A law enforcement officer, stops me for speeding. God forbid, knock on wood. We've had that happen pretty recently. Whatever it is, if I'm carrying, I'm going to say, hey, for my safety and for yours, I'm going to let you know there's a firearm. This has happened before. But should it be in state statute? Should it be required? No. No. It's an infringement on our rights. And I hate that it's there. I hope they take that back. There are red flag laws that were put into place as a part of the inner city violence prevention. No. Take it back, guys. We need strong leaders, and we need them in our elected positions. And then we need strong leaders in our churches and in our homes. Men, step up. Whatever it is, look around you in your life. Are you there for your wife and kids? Do you know what teachers are doing in your kids' classrooms? Are you like familiar with all of the problems and challenges facing your family in your kids' middle school, high school? Do they have the insanity that is radical gender ideology? You'd be surprised around here. And I'm not just talking about, down the road at Magic City Acceptance Academy where you expect it. I'm talking about in Vestavia, in Homewood, in Hoover, in Trussville. Do your schools have madness and people within them promoting it? What about on your school board? Have you paid attention to who represents you on your school board, who represents you at the State Board of Education? Because that's how we stop this madness. As the Trump administration, and I go back to education a lot because it's so very important to me. it's funny because it didn't become important to me because it was my beat at 18, 19. It became my beat at 18, 19 because it was important to me. And you guys heard from Brian Dawson today, filling in for Andrew. I like to joke, he's not my boss, he's my boss's boss. But he saw my passion for education, for, preventing the woke, from stopping the woke, from pointing out the woke. And if the left are like, oh, that's a boogeyman, what does that mean? I'll tell you what it means. It means over teachers in the classroom teaching oppressed and oppressors, teaching only the biographies of the radical left. When we have Women's History Month or Black History Month or Pride Month, God forbid, which, by the way, is Traditional Families Month, we're taking that thing back. We're taking this month back. It's been refreshing to only see and hear a little bit of occasional Pride stuff. I told you just in case you missed it last week, this is my answer to this. If your email, you check in your email, go in there and put in Pride Month. Every email that you're subscribed to for a business that you got a Pride Month, there was an advertisement, an acknowledgement, something for Pride Month, unsubscribe. Stop using them. Use your pocketbook to weigh in. Go ahead, unsubscribe and reply and tell them why you did it. That's how we get them to stop pushing their radical agendas down our throats. We make them realize it's going to cost them. So I did that, and then this year has been delightful. I have, and Barnes and Noble, you've got your bookstores, you've got your main street, your main stores. I got a freaking University of Alabama printing press email promoting Pride Month propaganda, things that their teachers and their students had written and published related to Pride Month. It's ridiculous, and it only stops when we point it out and stand up to it. Yeah, if you haven't seen the video of the pastor throwing hands, I'm just trying to find what he said about it, because it is Pastor Tony Spell. And what's great about what he did, is it's just nice to see a man like take charge that way. He's going to protect his wife. He's going to protect his family. He's going to protect his grandkids, his church, his flock. But then afterwards, he stood up and he said, yeah, I did it. And this is why. And the police haven't done enough. Now the police are coming like, oh, well, there's been 5 or 6 calls. They're denying some of the claims. But I'm telling you, the number of witnesses. I've got a story open here from one of their local news channels. The guy that first threw the first punch and then caught it. Needed 5 stitches to his chin. Got a pretty gnarly cut on his chin. I'm gonna have some bruising and swelling around the eye. He earned that. He earned that. We need to make men who feel like they can threaten women. We need to put the fear of God back in them. The men in our lives, the men around us, need to make sure that the women in their lives feel safe. That pastor's wife feels good tonight. She's going to bed knowing she's going to be protected tonight. We need more of that. I'm 100% supportive. If you are willing to talk the talk and throw the fist like this guy did, you better be willing to catch it on the other side as well. And there's no convincing me that what he did was wrong or unnecessary or over the top. And like I said, it'll be interesting to see what the prosecutors say, if it goes to trial, what a jury says or what a judge says. This is a man who has dedicated his life to his family and his community, and that's who he is standing up for. Good on him. All right. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get into some of the other headlines of the day. You guys hold tight. Leland Live with April Marie. Well, good afternoon, everyone. April Marie here, filling in for Leland the rest of this week, early next week. Uh, Loving this the World Cup games. People falling in love with our nation, realizing that they have been lied to about the United States of America. Here's what I feel like we should do. Okay, we take hear me out here. We take the routes that these World Cup fans did themselves, where they're traveling all around the country, doing road trips, meeting people, eating at all American restaurants, making friends. And we make some of these leftist crazies do that same thing. Because here's what I believe, and I do, I sincerely believe this. The left has turned itself into such an echo chamber that, and I had a dear friend, a young lady, I say young lady, she's my age, a woman I love with all of my heart, and she drank the Kool-Aid. And you could watch it, you could see it, you could see, just even on when Trump came onto the scene in politics, and then the Roy Moore, even right here in Alabama, the Roy Moore election and Doug Jones and Trump and the leftists in Alabama, it's like they put themselves in some kind of bubble. And you can see this because you can see the same individuals out there with the little blue dots on their car. And you can see them out there at the No Kings protest, at the BLM protest, all of the things. They have gotten themselves into this super poisonous, hyper negative, completely detached from reality world that gives no credit to how great a nation we really are. And then they sit around and they watch talk show hosts talking about how bad things are and how awful things are and how hateful we are. Trump supporters are this, and Christians are now all hateful, and they're all Christian nationalists, and they're all the devil themselves, and they've taken over religion, and it's everything is so in this liberal mindset, so awful. And we have people coming from all around the world going, wait, what? That this isn't bad. People are polite and they're loving and they're friendly and they're kind. Yeah, we are. Contrary to what and it's not just, media here, it's the propaganda they're getting in their own country. The United States is a great nation. So much of if you were to look at mainstream media, if you look at AL.com, if you look at it, you'd think crime was rampant. Well, most everybody in Alabama lives somewhere safe. Even in Birmingham, there are areas where this is going to be completely unsafe. And then there are areas where if there is crime, it's spillover crime. It's not crime originating in neighborhoods. There are incredibly wonderful places. There are 99 neighborhoods in the city of Birmingham. Most of them wonderful to live in. Some of them not so much. That goes across the country. Across the country, if you were to take crime statistics and break it out into census tracts, and you were to look at where the crime is, there are huge, huge swaths of the United States where there is no crime, where there is no violent murders. Occasionally, you'll get an area where there's a case of domestic violence. And that's usually, but there's no gangs everywhere around the United States. It's safe to walk in your neighborhoods. It's safe for kids to ride bikes. We live in a time where we see the negative. And for whatever reason, the conservatives, we have the ability to look at this and process this in a way. And I think it has to do with the lifestyle we choose, right? It has to do with, we go to church every Sunday and we see our neighbors. And we know that we can sit and worship with those who vote a different way, who believe a different thing. We know that we can go out and cut our grass, or in my case, have my 13-year-old daughter cut our grass and have the neighbors stop and be friendly while they're out walking their dogs. We live in a country worth celebrating, but that's not what you'd think if you were to only consume news from the left, because they're doomsdayers. We get a little worried over here, and we should be a little worried when the left tries to infiltrate. When they try to run somebody in Texas who hates Christianity. when they try to run somebody who's white and says he's sorry for being white, when you see what's happening in New York City, Seattle, California, yeah, I can get a little hyper focused on making sure that doesn't spill out. But overall, we have a phenomenal nation worth celebrating. And not just here on the 250th anniversary, not just on Independence Day, but day to day. And, I look at, again, I've chosen, my kids have not gone to ever a day of public school in their life. We're zoned for Birmingham City Schools. So it has not been in the cards for them. Um, but I look at schools, I look at the education and the state of education, and I don't see the kids coming out of the public schools understanding how great we are, how lucky we are, because that's not what they're being taught. That's not what they're being shown. That's not what that's not being instilled in them in a value. I grew up, I went to public schools myself, and I had the old school teachers, and by old school, I mean old. These weren't young, nose ringed. Occasionally, I'd have an younger teacher, and I can pretty much recall and count on my fingers how many new teachers I had. But even in Brevard County, Florida, which, by the way, is where Moms for Liberty originated. Moms for Liberty originated in Brevard County, Florida. By and large, our teachers were patriotic. Our teachers loved our nation. We didn't know what their politics were, but I guess they're pretty conservative. These were church going, Bible reading, American country loving, patriotic, love to be in the field of education teachers, educators. That's what they wanted to be, not indoctrinators, not negative Nellies. I did that story a couple months ago on the teacher over in Northport who was spending her, and I put this in air quotes because it was her school's defense, on her breaks. She was railing about ICE and railing about Trump and railing about the state of the nation and how sad it is. Do you think that woman is making her kids' school days, the kids who are in her classroom, the elementary school? Do you think that she's making their days joyful? That she's teaching them what a great country we live in? No, because in her little siloed opinion, it's awful. In her little siloed opinion, there's nothing worth celebrating except for maybe the Supreme Court justices who can't tell their butt from their elbow. No, we got to get back to this. We got to get back to celebrating our nation. I'm going to start with sending people along the same path Freddie has taken. Back in just a minute, you're listening to Leland Live with April Marie. Well, good afternoon, everyone. April Marie here, filling in for Leland. I got a little excited about liking the music there. Randy on the line. Hey, Randy, how's it going?
Doing pretty good. How you doing?
I am doing well today.
Well, my son had to do a book report on old laws and stuff that's on the books and stuff. Up here in Double Springs, Alabama, Winston County up here, there's a law. It's been in effect there since 1806. You can take your wife, your girlfriend, or your fiance to the courthouse on Sunday from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock, and you can whoop her with a hickory no bigger around in your pinky.
Okay. I love learning about old laws. I don't know why, but they're entertaining to no end.
I wonder how many people's really done that, though.
I'm gonna go with probably none in a minute. What year did you say that was put on the books?
1806.
1806, but I asked the sheriff. He said the last time he remembers anybody doing it was 1978.
Oh goodness! But he remembers somebody doing it.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I'll tell you what. In the state of Florida, lawmakers have to do in order to get an extra slot on the bills they file, they have to do a repeal law where they have to find old laws like that and take them off the books. So people go through every year and look for laws and then take them off the books.
Well, this ain't never been took off. I just like cattle rustling up there. It's still a hanging offense.
You know what? I'm gonna write that one down. The repeal laws, because you'll have to ask him. So did everyone in his class get assigned to find a crazy old law like that?
Yeah.
Good times. That's actually a fun assignment.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I just like I said, they probably ain't done it here lately, but back in he said 75 was the last one that he knowed actually hearing and seeing about somebody carrying their wife to the courthouse.
Lord have mercy. That's crazy.
You imagine doing that today?
Yeah, no, I can't imagine doing that today. And I'm pretty sure that if someone did that today, they'd still end up arrested under our current domestic violence laws.
But it's on the books, though. It's law.
It's funny that you say that, because during that last commercial break, I had somebody had emailed me, and I was going down a rabbit hole, because if you are a member of a teachers union in the state of Alabama, there's only a 10-day window to leave, and that 10-day window happens in the summer, and so I was trying to figure out what that 10-day window was. Well, thanks for calling in, Randy. I appreciate it.
And God bless you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, I absolutely. Yeah. So he's a Winston County that you can go whoop your wife with a what did he say it was? Hickory. Yeah. AJ's just shaking his head over here. How do you think your wife would take that? She would turn around and whoop you with something, wouldn't she?
Right.
That's most wives I know.
I would never do that anyway. So
yeah.
I was wondering, because obviously there are some laws here, and I know we talked about that before on the show before. But it's just interesting to see the laws that were in effect.
Yeah.
At certain times, and how some of these laws are still in the books. Now, obviously, a lot of people don't know the laws like that verbatim, but there's always that one that knows these particular laws. Like, you can't walk on the side of the road on a Sunday if it's sunny outside wearing all white. Like, who came up with that law?
Yeah, who decided this was going to be a thing? I actually just Googled dwarf tossing Alabama laws, because there was a whole thing in Florida where there was a prohibition against dwarf tossing and midget tossing. I don't know what one or the other. And then there was a movement to repeal it. And I was like, how do you end up with, like, how did that end up issue?
Right. Because that's basically how laws are made. Just like those railroad crossings, something had to happen at that particular spot where those arms are there for the railroad tracks. So someone, either their family or maybe themselves, was being tossed, and they're like, "All right, I'm gonna get back at you.
I'm gonna put a law in this.
Yeah, I'm gonna create a law."
Yeah, it's a thing. All right, I'm gonna let you get the phones are people are calling in. I'm assuming that other people know of crazy laws that are still on the books. Yeah, the dwarf tossing. I Okay, by the way, RIP my ads because this computer doesn't have. Usually, I have it where I can't. All my searching is private. I'm on a temporary computer because if you missed the memo, my dog ate my laptop. That wasn't just an excuse I used for Jeff Poor for missing a deadline. The dog did, in fact, take her mouth, put it sideways, and chomp my computer in just the right place for my screen to go up. So I'm using my daughter's. And RIP now her search results because now we're going to get ads for dwarf tossing, aka midget tossing, which is apparently there's no Alabama law. It was just a Florida thing. Okay, go on to the phone lines. We've got Alan. How's it going, Alan?
How you doing?
Good.
I was curious about in the newsrooms and stuff. I mean, what all's going on in the country, and I see the people in Washington, these Democrats get up there, and they'll say some of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life. I mean, just the most outlandish things. I mean, used to, I could say that at least the Democrats loved our country. We had a few differences. I'm more conservative, but I don't care if you're gay, black, straight, you can worship, I don't know, whatever. I was in the military, but I mean, I just think we're headed down a road that I don't know where it's going to end because. If you think these people are going to stop when Trump gets out there, you're wrong.
No.
They'll just be the next Nazi.
Yep.
I mean,
oh no,
I don't know where it's going to end.
Well, where it ends is where we say we don't care what you call us, we don't care what you publish about us, we don't care about whatever. We're going to keep standing up for what's right, and then at some point they realize it's not having the same impact. I tell people this all the time. One of the worst things to happen in terms of combating actual racism is the left calling everything racism, because then you got an entire population of people that are so used to being called racist. So it's like the little boy who called Wolf. It doesn't have the same impact. You're like, that guy's racist. And you're like, okay, well, yesterday you were calling me racist. Yesterday you were calling that guy racist. So how do you know? And so I think the left has done us the left has done us a great disservice by trying to redefine definitions as a way of personal attacks.
Yeah, well, when I see 70-year-old senators and congressmen, especially I guess it's more senators, and they're up there and they don't know what a woman is anymore.
Oh, it's insane.
I just don't know how this is going to end well. I mean, I keep thinking that. I mean, I may not be alive. I'm in my 60s, but something bad's going to happen because you got millions of veterans in this country that, we're the nicest people in the world. But I think even nice people, just like that preacher, they have
there's a
limits.
tipping point. Yeah. No, there's
I'm
absolutely.
worried about it. I mean, I'm not worried about losing. I'm just worried about the devastation. I mean, I don't know what. These people are they're ridiculous. They cannot do anything together. I mean, it's out of control. I don't know how it's going to end, but good luck to you, and I hope it ends well, but I just don't see it. Good luck.
Thank you. You know how it ends? It ends when we collectively, as a nation, say enough is enough. We say, and I hope there are always these opportunities, these doors that open for individuals to say, regardless of your political affiliation, this is right, this is wrong, right? We decide that. You look at what's happening in New York City with these elected officials, one of them making excuses for the 9/11 terrorist. That's a right or wrong issue. And you got to be bat poop crazy to not recognize that's wrong. Hamas sympathizers, wrong. Guy in Texas saying, dogging Christianity, wrong. People feeling like they need to apologize for their whiteness, wrong. There's a right and a wrong, and it transcends. It transcends political, partisan, all of those labels, and just gets down to what do you know to be true? What is true? And what we know to be true, what we should know to be true is, and we live in a great country. We have a wonderful God who gives us forgiveness, who offers us grace, who offers us salvation. There is right and there is wrong. There is, I don't even know what to say it. And then there's also just crazy. And what we're seeing a lot of right now is crazy. How do we save ourselves? Well, each of us by doing our own part. I tell people all the time, if it doesn't have to be you give money to make your community stronger. Maybe you give of your time. Maybe you give of your talents. Maybe you get involved in a church group. Maybe you go teach literacy skills at an after-school program. There is an opportunity for you no matter who you are, no matter what your station in life, socioeconomic situation is. There is an opportunity for you to make this nation stronger and better. Maybe it is just when you have your grandkids talking to them about how great our nation is. It's the little things that really will make a big difference. They're not getting it in school anymore. They're not. They're not learning patriotism. They're not learning. Heck, we just had to have a bill to put a constitutional amendment that will be on our ballots in November to get kids to say the Pledge of Allegiance, to allow them to have student-led prayer. Like, that's where we are in the state and where we are as a nation. We have to fight for these basic fundamental things that we know are right and good and healthy. I think we all have this responsibility. All right, let's go to, let's see. Well, Bill wants to talk about Iran. Did I go right over my 45-minute break, or did we? Yeah, I did. Okay, we're going to be back in just a minute. We'll go to the phone lines. John Wall sent me a text message. He is running a little behind schedule, but we'll hear from him in the next hour. Back in a second. Well, good afternoon. Almost evening, I suppose. 4:52. April Marie here, filling in for Leland. You can catch me online. Yes, I'm on Facebook. I'm absolutely terrible about it. X is the better place. APRYLMARIE. And of course, 99.5. If you're not following them, they've got a Twitter account, Instagram account. Of course, now the YouTube Live, which is Real Talk 99.5 TV on YouTube. You can just search that on up and watch your favorite host or favorite fill-in host. We're still workshopping, AJ and I over here, workshopping my favorite fill-in title. I went by everybody's favorite substitute teacher for a while. That's what I would claim the title I claimed in Montgomery before I got my own show there. What was Yaffe? What was it? Was just the most listened to or most often fill in?
No, yeah, I think I had gave him the moniker the most fill-in guest host.
Okay, yeah, and then he went to Tennessee.
Yeah,
ran away on us.
yeah.
Did y'all make it a bad experience for him at one point? Is this your response? Is it you or John Bird who made him run away?
No, it definitely was not me.
I was gonna say it's actually Dale.
Yeah.
Although what happened was Yaffe ran away to Tennessee, and then Dale followed him. So now they both have shows in Huntsville and in Tennessee, which cracks me up.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's favorite fill-in. Don't tell Brian Dawson I said that, because he is in fact filling in for Andrew. I said back in legitimate. Back to the phone lines. Bill Holding. How's it going, Bill? Oh, did I push the right button? Okay, I didn't push the button. Hey,
It's
Bill.
all good. Thank you for taking my call, ma'am. I have a question. I wanted to get your take on it. I'm a veteran of Afghanistan, and to make a long story short, I don't get what Trump is trying to do, obviously maybe to keep from sending in ground troops, but why are we playing footsie with the Iranians and trying to make a deal and all this stuff when we should have made them a parking lot a long time ago? What do you think?
Well, and you'll hear, I haven't talked a lot about Iran. I'll give updates in terms of what's on the news. I'm going to tell you, this is just not something where I feel like I feel confident in weighing in. I see the argument. We had the upper hand for whatever reason, and I don't know if it was midterm pressure from Congress, if it was, all the talking heads starting to weigh in. Oh, you said this was going to be 4 weeks, and now it's been 4 months. What kind of pressure Trump was getting. But I certainly am waiting and hoping that this does not turn out to be an absolute disaster for him, because that in turn becomes a disaster for us and our military.
Absolutely. And for the midterms. And
Yeah.
I was talking with a friend of mine the other day that if gas prices don't continue to drop and if they go back up before the midterms, I mean, it's over. I mean, it's going to be sad. It'll really be bad.
Yep, I know.
That's just my personal opinion.
I agree with you 100%. Thanks for calling, Bill. Sorry, I'm not much more
Thank
help
you.
there. Yeah, it's one of those things, and you'll notice just in terms of the topics I get excited and talk about. I like to talk where I'm in my wheelhouse, and when it comes to foreign policy and when it comes to military things, I have no experience with that personally, and so you're going to find I don't talk about it as much. Although I will say, to his point, is we've got to figure out a way out of this that doesn't end with us losing ground. And that's what we had a caller, I want to say Friday, who said, how is the Trump deal, how is this something worth celebrating if it's not as good as the Biden deal was? Well, we don't know what that deal is going to be. We're still operating under an MOU right now as they hash things out. But Trump this is make it or break it in terms of, was this worth going in and doing what we've done? We've killed a number of people. Trump celebrated that. We played a clip of that, I want to say on Monday, in terms of, we took out their Navy. We took out a lot of their leaders. But will we see the kind of change, their wholesale change that Trump promised us? All I've got to say is we better. We absolutely need to. And so we will keep an eye on that. Pretty quiet on the negotiations front in terms of just what the news is reporting, what is coming from Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance. We know that J.D. Vance's team really was over there leading the efforts. Rubio has gone to weigh in on this. I was looking to see if I missed anything from Rubio this afternoon since I've been on air. We do see, actually, Rubio's timeline is full of Venezuelan response to the Venezuelan earthquakes, where he says the U.S. is mounting an immediate response and mobilizing support for the Venezuelan people affected by earthquakes. The U.S., we've deployed our search and rescue teams and are providing consular assistance to Americans and their families. He's providing a lot of information in terms of those earthquakes. The United States offers our deepest condolences to the people of Venezuela following the devastating earthquakes. So that is what he's talking about today. He is over there. I'm looking at pictures from 24 hours ago of Rubio over in the Middle East, working on this package, working on this deal, trying to get through these negotiations, and we'll see. I mean, look, he's I guess next stop was Kuwait. Images of him there. He went and met with UAE's president. So yeah, the talks continue. The left would have us believe this has been a complete waste. We have lost the deal. Maybe we have lost the upper hand. Maybe they will pull an ace out of their pocket. That's what we're all hoping for. And I get really mad when people are like, it's just awful. It's bad. It's terrible. We did lose. Let's give them a chance. Let's see what the deal is before we decry what the deal is. And that's where we're going with that. Okay, when we come back from this break, running a little late with John Wall, but he and Brittany are on their way, so we'll hear from them in the next hour. My kids have safely arrived at the pool. If you're wondering for that update, that's what I just got. Back in a second. You guys hold tight. It's April Marie filling in for Leland.